Lucid Healing, hello. What's up, Daryl? How you doing, man, down there in Texas? Thank you for supporting. What's up, Chris? My guest is on. It's going to be a really fun show. I am so excited about this. I love talking to good friends. We are going, hey Thomas, what's up? Yes. Folks, this show is going to come with a bit of a twist. There will be a giveaway featured. I'm so happy to introduce you guys to this beautiful CEO, this human being, Chris Sills, I swear to God. Hey, cousin Shirley. He hasn't created something special there in Austin, Texas, and it's my pleasure to share it with you guys, and hopefully you guys will be fans just like I am. Yay. I'm really happy. Aw, thank you for all the hearts. You guys make me feel so good. Yep, trying to broaden this platform the best I can. So saturated out there, but you know, you gotta be in it to win it, right? Yes. Alright, guys. You guys have to pay special attention. Oh, thank you. I don't know where the shirt is from. Sometimes people send me swag, but this is actually from my personal collection. But the jewelry here, right here, Frida's Fancy Jewelry. Thank you. Aw, you like Still Austin Whiskey? Yay! Miss Delta Diva, I know who she is. All right, folks. Thank you so much for jumping on the Soapbox today. We are going to get started. What's up, Anthony? Welcome to Soapbox Sunday. I am Jermaine Taylor. Folks, so as consumers, it's, we're endeared to our favorite products, our favorite brands for many reasons. Perhaps we grew up with it and we've always known that brand. Perhaps it was introduced to our lives at a very poignant time. Or sometimes the familiarity of the backstory of that particular brand is the attachment, because we all like to be a part of a really great story, a great legacy. Well, the story of Still Austin Whiskey is incredibly touching. It really is, I tell you. In fact, the effects of its tender genesis is still present within each and every one that has a hand in delivering this particular liquor to the market. And as a result, anyone that consumes this particular bourbon is drinking something special. They really are. I mean, I've been enjoying it all weekend long myself. Today, I have the CEO and co-founder of Still Austin Whiskey, Chris Sills, on the Soapbox. He's my friend. I asked my friend if he'd share in detail about his labor of love, his passion of making whiskey, and he said yes. Folks, I am a fan. It's a really nice, easy, it just goes down so smooth, and I tell you, I am a fan of this, and after this episode, you will be too. Now, this particular show, we're doing a giveaway. So you're going to have to pay special attention to the conversation, because at the end, I'm going to pose a question, and whichever you answer the questions first will be getting your own bottle of this whiskey right here, Still Austin Whiskey. It's really great, and I'll be sending that to you as a gift from the Soapbox. So be paying special attention, close attention to the conversation, because the clues will be given throughout. And if you answer first within the comments, Kentucky boy, I love bourbon, I know you do, you guys will win. You'll be possibly winning a bottle of your own Still Austin Whiskey. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring Chris Sills to the Soapbox. Hold on. All right, Chris is saying you're unable to join. Perhaps you might need to, let me try you again. All right, Chris, you're unable to join. Maybe you're on your, let's try this new. I'm saying you're unable to join, so try a different device, Chris, so I can possibly get you on. I don't know if you're on your phone, you're on your tablet, your computer. but try a different device. Is it bourbon or just whiskey? Well, we're going to find that out when he jumps on the soapbox, Donna. Bourbon, indeed. All right, let's try it again here. Let me see here. All right, Chris is saying you're unable to join. I don't know if it's your device or what. So, no, my account isn't private, so you can jump on. Let's try it again here. Well, Chris, send me yet another request and try it again. Or possibly try from a different account. Let's try it the same way that we did it yesterday. We'll get it on there. All right, I got you. It's the soapbox. We're very casual, and I got to tell you, when you got liquor, it makes it all a lot easier. Things are blurry. I'm enjoying it, folks. I hope you guys pay special attention, because if you do, you'll be winning your own bottle of it. It's a really great bourbon, and I'm not a big whiskey drinker, but I got to tell you, this is a great introduction. I'm all about the clear, the vodka, but right here, I'm going to be a fan, because I like it when it goes down smooth. All right, he said he's trying. Let me see if I can possibly get him again. Oh, here we go. Let's try it here. All right, we are waiting for Mr. Chris Seals. There he goes. What's up?
Hey, sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No problem, dude. It's the soapbox. Things are very casual. It's so good to see your face. What's up, man?
It's good to see you too, Jermaine.
Yay! This makes me happy. I love it when I interview my friends, because it takes the edge off. And, you know, friends along with liquor. You got your glass right here? You drinking with me?
I am. I'm going to pour right now.
Oh, shit! You're drinking out the bottle, huh?
No, I'm not going to go that far, but
right, cool.
I'll pour and drink with you.
Great. Folks, this is Chris Seals. He is the co-founder and the CEO of this beautiful brand of whiskey here, folks. Still Austin Whiskey is there in Austin, Texas. I mentioned in the introduction the story, the origin of this whiskey is so touching. And when we were talking about this in prep, you mentioned that there was a specific reason why you even wanted to start on this venture, and it involved your dad. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So like when we first kind of got started on this, it was my dad's idea. He wanted to start a whiskey distillery. You know, honestly, like back then we weren't all that close. We were close, but we weren't that close.
Yeah.
And just to be totally frank, I didn't think it was a very good idea. You know, this is like, you know, the sort of thing that, you know, you start looking at it from the numbers. You know, it's really hard to, you know, you take, you know, money, put it into making a barrel of bourbon. You got to wait years for it to mature, and it just takes a long, long time. And so I wasn't that enthused about it, but I was pretty enthused about spending time with my dad. And I thought, you know, it's a great, not many people get to, you know, go on a little adventure like this with a dad. So anyway, so it was his idea. And I kind of thought when he first came up with it that we would just sort of study it a little while. And then probably like, you know, get to the point where we decided this was not a very good idea, but we could spend some time, you know, drinking whiskey together, visiting distilleries, you know, learning how to make whiskey.
So you were just trying to bond, and not knowing that this bonding would turn into this huge empire that you're sitting on today.
I don't know about a huge empire.
Dude, it's a feat. I have been diving into your whole backstory and looking at all the reviews, and what you've done is pretty remarkable. Now, before we even get started on your particular journey, the origins of whiskey, it is Black History Month.
Yes.
And whiskey has a tie-in to that particular facet. Will you tell us about that a little bit?
Oh, well, you know, we were talking about that a little bit. That I think when we were talking about to set up the show, I was mentioning one of the neatest brands out there, and this is kind of the golden age of craft whiskey. Totally. One of the neatest brands out there, other than Still Austin, is Uncle Nearest, which is kind of based on the history of Uncle Nearest, who taught Jack Daniels how to distill. Exactly. And That story, I would highly recommend to read their story, the backstory and everything. It's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But it's really one of his descendants that helped to kind of get the brand started again.
Yeah.
And based on his original mash bill, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you're starting to kind of now get like a lot of diversity in the whiskey space.
Yeah.
It's traditionally been kind of maybe more narrow in the target market, but now you're
Sure.
kind of beginning to see it be a little bit broader.
Yeah. I got to tell you, when I started drinking, it's kind of weird to say that. I always thought whiskey to be a grown, mature person's drink because all the older men in my family often drank it. And
Sure.
when they drank it, they always got sort of lit, you know, kind of shit-faced drinking it. So in my mind, it was always synonymous with having a really good time, fast and quick, you know. So the way that I enjoy it today is totally divorced from the way that I was introduced to it as a kid. So I'm really grateful for that evolution. Now, did you start drinking whiskey as a youth, or was it something that pretty much matured with you as you got older?
You know, the first time I ever drank whiskey was with my dad.
Oh, wow. How young were you?
You know, I was 16 the first time we ever had whiskey together. We were on a vacation together, and my dad was like, let's have a glass of whiskey. And we did. I don't really remember much more about that night. I remember we were on a beach, and I remember kind of walking around on it a little bit later. That's just about it. My first time ever having it.
It wasn't in moderation. Did you just chug it or what? Like, what happened?
I know. I remember like thinking, oh my God, like I'd never tasted anything like it first.
Yeah.
I remember like taking it slow, but I don't remember much else.
When I first had it, for me, it was a very diluted experience. I think I had a lot of Coke in it, so I was tasting more of that. Okay. So, but I did get the effects of it. I'm not gonna hide you because I'm a lightweight when it comes to liquor. But yeah, but enjoying the way I'm enjoying it today is brand new. I've never had it on the rocks, so I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's really nice, neat as well.
It is
on the rocks. That's how I had it when I first time I ever tasted whiskey was with my dad, and I had it neat then too. So,
right.
By the way, cheers.
Now, as far as getting started in it, did you have to undergo a certain amount of training and certification to even get started in this particular journey? Like, what is required to even open a distillery? Like, what are the steps in the process there?
Well, we are a bourbon distillery. Okay. That's whiskey is kind of the overarching category of which bourbon is the type that we make. Yeah. There's a lot of laws about bourbon and about the distillery as well. Mm-hmm. There's the rules on like what can be called bourbon. It has to be made in the United States. It has to be made from a certain amount of corn and a certain there's only 5 grains you can use. So there's a bunch of laws about what defines bourbon. And then,
really?
Yes, there's written in U.S. law, and then there are a lot of regulations on distilleries, mm-hmm. and those are federal regulations. There's a lot of state regulation. Here in Austin, there's a lot of local regulation.
Really?
Yeah, it actually took from the time that we first started talking with the city of Austin mm-hmm. About opening what would be Austin's first craft whiskey distillery. They first told us, no, it's illegal. You can't open a whiskey distillery in Austin. And
what was the reason that they would say no? Like, what was behind that? Was it like a code thing, or like, what was it?
Yeah, I mean, we make a massive amount of flammable liquid.
Oh, okay.
And then we store it in wood barrels, and so there was a lot of code issues. It could be dangerous. So it took a lot of work with the fire department. There's also lots of other regulators in Austin. We have a hefty amount of regulation that kind of makes it a little bit. It takes a little longer, I think, than most places. For us, from the time the city told us, no, you can't open a whiskey distillery till they gave us the certificate of occupancy for our building, was 37 months. So it took a long
Really?
time. Yeah, we none of us quit our day jobs. Like we just kind
Hmm.
of worked on it night and
Was there
day.
ever a moment that you think it wasn't going to be granted and you guys were like, well, we tried? Or did you just keep forging through knowing that something would break?
I would say most of the time I was not sure that it was actually ever going to get done.
Yeah, yeah,
But we just we had nothing to lose, right?
sure. Yeah,
Like we put our money in a hat. We're not
yeah,
spending any of it.
yeah,
We're just
yeah.
working through all the regulations, and so it I think it was kind of long. It was a long journey, but to get to the starting point.
Wow.
But it really nothing really to lose.
Sure. Yeah. Now, why did you settle on Austin, Texas? Was it because that's where you were located living, or were there any other cities or, areas in Texas that you were open to? Why Austin?
But yeah, I mean, like you and I grew up in East Texas, and
We
so we had
did.
like the East Texas experience. And then I came to Austin in '93,
Okay.
and went to UT. Kind of fell in love with city. That's right. And I mean, Austin in a lot of ways is such a wonderful community. It like the values of the people here are a lot like what you typically. I don't know. I feel like they're forward thinking. It's very.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a place where people tend to focus on and support local businesses,
Yeah.
and they really value things that are super authentic,
Mhm.
and that was like a lot of our vision was to be true. A lot of whiskeys are kind of a product of their place and the
Yeah.
people that they come from, and
Yeah.
so we wanted to do something that was like honored like our farmers. Like all of
Mhm.
our grains come from Texas farmers. We wanted
Oh, really?
yeah, 100%.
Oh,
And
wow. So you're growing the economy there in Austin. Wow.
yeah, no, it's a
Hats
it's
off to you, Chris.
yeah, no, it's a cool thing. And but
Yeah.
it's not just like the economic side of it, because everybody wants to support your local people, but
Hmm.
also like whiskey, it's a way of telling the story of who you are as people. Like, and you kind of get that from Kentucky bourbon. You can kind of get a
Hmm.
sense of the traditions of Kentucky when you taste a Kentucky bourbon or a Tennessee
Hmm.
whiskey, or
Hmm.
like the Scottish traditions and Scotch. But we wanted to be able to talk about who we are as Austinites.
Right.
Um, and so I don't know. I felt like of all places in Texas
Hmm.
that you can do something like this,
Yeah.
Austin's the best place.
Yeah, it's a very, if I ever moved back, Austin would be on the top of the list as to the city that I would move back to because of its forward thinking that you just mentioned. So I do keep that in my back pocket every now and then if whenever I entertain the idea of leaving this great state of California.
No, it's great too. I like Cali as
Yeah.
well, but
Yeah.
Austin's pretty nice. A lot of people
So
from
the
Cali are
culture
moving
was
here.
already built in. There was no need for like this massive outreach to like to build your,
Mm.
your consumer. It was all what they just prepped and ready, or did you find that there were things you were having to do to let people know, listen, we had a whiskey out here and this whiskey represents who we are. What was that like?
Sure. I mean, like it's kind of both.
Okay.
So, like in Austin, we have about 2 million people who live in Austin, in the greater Austin area. And we have about, when we're not in COVID, like about 28 million visitors who come to Austin every year. And they
Yeah.
basically come here to drink and
Yeah.
have like
Yeah, they do.
they go to South by Southwest and
I remember
ACL. They have a really good
that.
time and
Yeah.
they drink.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely a drinking city.
Yeah. Yeah.
People like to drink here. So that part, is no surprise to people. But being a small brand and very community based, we don't spend a lot on flashy advertising. We really
Yeah.
grow, person to person, word of mouth, and we're really authentic in what we do. So we try to just grow in a really sustainable way. I think it's taking time just to like. People discover us very naturally.
Mm.
We've definitely gotten a lot of love last couple of this since we've launched our straight bourbon. Things have kind of taken off for us. It's people
Hmm.
seem to be loving it. I
Yeah.
think in large part of it because it's very true to who we are. in part
Yeah.
because it just, I mean, it tastes really good.
Yeah, it does.
It's
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I tell you, I was not a very, and I call it brown liquor. I wasn't a very avid brown liquor drinker, up until, my early 40s. And, I would dibble and dabble because I kind of got bored with what I was drinking. And then when I saw that you were doing this whole whiskey brand, I was like, okay, cool. And I hadn't tried it. And then when you sent me this bottle, I was like, wait a minute. This is going down kind of smooth. I don't like a rough drink, I like it for a nice, pleasant experience. And if I get the byproduct of, the feel goods, I like it to ease up on me and not all of a sudden just be on my ass because, I'm just,
Yeah.
So it's a really good, you've made a really, really, you've impressed me. I got to tell you that much.
Glad
Now,
you
the
like it.
process of making whiskey, where does it begin? You mentioned corn. So you harvest the corn and like, how does that even happen? Like, briefly take us through that.
Yeah. So all whiskey starts with grain.
Okay.
For us, we use white corn, which is the same thing that's like in our corn chips and corn tortillas here in Austin.
Okay.
It's a little different than like the yellow corn that you typically see like in Kentucky bourbon. That's
Okay.
kind of the main corn that's grown in the Ohio Valley.
Okay.
We also use a little bit of rye in our bourbon. It's a variety called Elbon that's kind of, in flavor, it's kind of sweet and spicy, and it's pretty delicious.
Is it prominent? Is that what I'm tasting more so?
Yeah.
Because okay. I thought there was something because there was. It's juxtaposed to another brand that I, would normally drink until I started trying Still Austin whiskey, and I was like, "There's something different about it that I'm liking." So that might be it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, part of it too, and this is probably just me and you. Like, we grew up in Texas, and we had Tex-Mex. We
did.
Like, there's certain cuisines that are like part of our culture, that are part of like what we grew up with, that we know, we love. They feel very familiar to us.
Yeah.
And this
and we measure it wherever we go.
That's right. True.
When I moved out here, and even when I was in New York, and I thought I was going to get some good Mexican food, and I went in and I looked at it, I was like, this doesn't even look like what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And I acclimated, no doubt, but because of what you just said, there was an innate expectation as to what it was going to taste like based on what we grew up with. So yeah, that's very true. So you mentioned, so there's rye, and what else it gives it the flavor?
Yeah, so it's for what's in your glass there, it's 70% corn, it's 25% rye, and 5% malted barley, all grown here in Texas. And then farmers will bring their grain to the distillery. We mill it. We then cook the grain, and we add yeast and ferment a beer. All whiskey comes from beer. So you first brew a beer, then you distill it. We have a very unusual still. It's our still is rather tall. It's 50 foot tall, and it's named Nancy. After
Why Nancy?
Nancy. If you've ever seen, there's a film called Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Her name was Nancy, and so there's
a whole ass monument in your distillery called Nancy.
Nancy, and so we have a picture of the film poster as well. But she's really special. She's made in Scotland by a company called Forsyths. They don't even know quite how long they've been making stills, somewhere over 300 years, but they're not quite sure. And so they've been making them a long time. She's the only still like her that has ever been made in North America. And then once we distill the alcohol out of the beer, we will put that distilled spirit in a barrel. We'll let it rest for several years, and we use a very unusual but very old tradition where we reduce the spirit while it's in the barrel very, very slowly. It's a technique that was taught to us by our master blender. She knows a lot about maturation. She's really incredible. Her name's also Nancy, Nancy Fraley. And she's got she's taught us a lot about traditions that come from Cognac and from Armagnac that are a bit older, several hundred years older. And we use those techniques to really try to bring out excellence and quality in everything that we make. And it just results in kind of having a flavor that both kind of is familiar to us, like part of our place, and it's, you know, it's completely flawless. There's nothing, no faults whatsoever in the bourbons. It comes across quite nicely and is quite smooth. So
now, in the beginning, were there a lot of attempts until you settled on the taste that you knew that would pretty much signify your brand, or did you just get it out there, listen to the response, and they're like, oh, we'll go with that one? Was there like an expectation that was already innate that you were like looking for? Like or did it just organically happen? Because that's the part that I'm most interested in. Like, how do you settle on that taste that's going to be, you know, synonymous with Still Austin whiskey?
Yeah, I mean, you're asking a really good question. And we did have to do a lot of experimentation at the beginning. We worked with, we kind of thought that like our big deal was going to be, because Texas is a big wheat state. And so we thought, you know, we would make a wheated bourbon, and that would be kind of like our big deal.
Sure.
And what we were kind of really surprised when Nancy Fraley started kind of tasting through our early barrels. She was like, really, you know, the wheat, the bourbon has a wheat component in it, or what's called a wheated bourbon. She was like, it tastes good, but it's not going to be that special. It's just going to taste kind of like Blanton's or another pretty standard wheated bourbon. But what you've made with the rye component is something really special, and really stands out. And so it really was kind of a process of working with the farmers in our region. We had to just do a lot of experimentation. And even with all these things, you don't really know what it's going to taste like at the end.
And that's really the artsy part that I'm more attracted to, because, you know, that's how I pretty much, you know, live my life. I create it, and then when I get to it, that's what I was aiming for. But you really don't see it. You just know the feeling that's going to come upon you when you know it's right. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And it is an art for sure. Like, you want to,
no doubt.
The tools kind of help us to get something that, like, when it goes in the barrel, it's excellent, superb quality. But there's a lot of art in the maturation of the bourbon, the blending of the barrels together at the end of the process. A lot of technique that really helps to ensure the highest quality, and something that we're really proud of. It kind of gives you a sense of who we are.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, you know, with the codes and all the regulations, with that, are you guys like, is there someone that comes in every year to make sure you guys are up to par and you guys are pretty much following the rules? Is that something you have to like look forward to every year to make sure, wait a minute, here they're coming today, we got to make sure this is clean, or this is how, you know, things like that? Is that a part of the journey as well?
It is. I wouldn't say
I hit a sore spot
forward to it, but we probably have some kind of inspector, whether it's a health inspector, a fire inspector, some kind of regulator that stops by unexpected, unannounced, at least, you know, 2 or 3 times a month. We have somebody that stops in to check in on something. And it's a highly regulated industry, and there's a lot of people who are paid well to regulate us. And so they keep an eye on what we're doing. I'll tell you that.
So with that being said, the people that you attract to work there, what are you looking for in your employees? Are they like, have to be attentive to detail, like paramount number one, you know, for the sake of passing all of these, you know, inspections? Like, what is that about?
Yeah, I mean, first, like, we have the best team, I believe, that there is in the United States, if not the world. I could not be more proud of the people who are still Austin. And I really believe that all brands are made by people, not more than anything else. And I'm going to talk just for a minute about our lead distiller, John Sherpel. He's a young guy.
Sure.
I think he's a perfect example of what the heart and soul of Still Austin is. But I mean, like, his biggest thing is never cutting a corner.
Wow.
If it needs to wait longer, it needs to wait longer. If there's two ways of doing it, but one is the way that's going to come out the best,
He's going to
the
go that
highest quality.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. And
Wow.
it really speaks to, like, you see that in our tasting room, you see that in our feet on the street, kind of telling people about our brand and what we're doing. Like, in every single level, there's this huge level of pride that people have, not just because of the quality of what we make, but that it represents what we believe in and who we are as people.
Yeah.
And I think that to work at Still Austin, you got to have some attention to detail for sure.
Yeah.
But you have got to have a lot
Integrity, it seems.
integrity. You need to place a high value on what makes us and what makes you different. And we do that. That's a big part of what what Austin is all about.
So you can send me an application, because I think I might fit the bill for that.
I think you would fit in great. I think you'd fit in awesome. We're always growing, and we got a lot of opportunities, and you would bring a lot, Jermaine. And I'm not kidding about that.
Speaking of which, I mentioned earlier, my association with whiskey was always with my, my uncles and things like that. And, they were very machismo men, very, those type of men that pretty much, always partook in whiskey. Is it still a pretty much straight man's world when it comes to that whole culture of drinking whiskey? Or is it lucid now? Like, where is the temperature there?
Well, we're trying to change that.
Okay.
And a lot of the people who, I mean, when you start looking at, like, a lot of the brands, like the more traditional brands, I mean, they're kind of targeting a mature, straight, white, male customer, kind of rural, ranch kind of brand. But that's not Austin. That's not us. We're a very diverse community. We're very intentional on being inclusive at every level within the company and within our customer. And we want everyone to be able to enjoy whiskey, and it be something that is, it's a beautiful product. Like, when you start to kind of look into, like, it tells a story of your culture. And our culture is one that places a high value on individuality.
Right. How front and center are, your expressions of individuality? Like, where do you put these people? Are they in the front? Are they working in the back? Like, where would I find someone that isn't the typical, whiskey drinker? Would she or he be, the mouthpiece for Still Austin? Or, like, where are they in, within your organization?
Well, I mean, I'm the CEO and I'm one of the co-founders. I'm an out gay man. And so I kind of defy already by nature, kind of maybe some of the expectations of what bourbon is. We have people who are transgender. We have people who are of all ethnic and racial backgrounds. And we place value on diversity. Even like our first ultra premium product that we ever released, we put the label entirely in Spanish as a way of acknowledging the bilingual people in our community that make up a big part of Austin. And so I think that like, we're not trying to be cookie cutter. We're not trying to follow what other people have done. We're trying to, like, emphasize the quality that we can make, and I think it's very it's just very forward in who we are, and we're about as approachable as you can get.
You are.
Like, we're not anything in
You're getting a lot of love because of that answer. My Amy, Amy Hip from our high school, and
Amy Hip, oh my gosh, what?
I love her. Amy's amazing. She's been, I tell you, social media can serve you or it can just make you fall apart. And Amy, I swear to God, I love her to death. And you know how Amy is. We've always loved Amy Hip.
Amy Hip, I think I could think of a million stories of
yes,
when we were in high school, but you are awesome. And
she is
making my day knowing that you're on here.
Yay! She said howdy. So you offer tastings and boutique experiences, as culture and community building experiences, right? Where people can come in and pretty much sip whiskey, or people that aren't even introduced to it. Are there things like that are attached to Still Austin Whiskey to grow your base? Or is it just pretty much a man on the street, we're over here, come give us a try? What is the outreach like to someone who's a novice to whiskey drinking there in Austin, Texas?
Sure. Also, if you visit Austin or you live in Austin, we have a lovely tasting room and whiskey garden. You can also go on a tour of the distillery so you'd see kind of how we work with our local farmers to make everything from grain to glass. We support our community in a lot of ways. This last year, we supported an enormous amount through our arts community and music. We feature local Austin artists, not only on the local artists paint all of our labels. So we really promote their work and expertise and point of view. So everything is super local, but we also we have a concert once a month. You can on that day.
Yeah, I was going to say Austin is the live music capital of the world, so there has to be a healthy marriage there somewhere. That's where I was getting at with this.
Yeah, for sure. And we've also been really involved with we have a Health Alliance for Austin Musicians. HAM. So we've been a big supporter of HAM from the beginning. And then this last year during COVID, we provided, it's hard to believe, we've about 100,000 gallons of hand sanitizer just to be able to support. We're supplying the largest hospital in Texas, hospital system in Texas. And
was it out of the goodness of your heart, or was there any sort of reciprocity?
Yeah, no, they helped to pay for it, but we did it for less than you could buy it at Walmart prior to COVID. So it was because we are one of the larger distilleries in Texas. We were able to produce it at a low cost and make it free to all Austinites in our tasting room. So you can just come by and pick up. You can make a donation to help produce more, or you could just take it for free. And it's really fascinating too, because it opened us up to a whole group of people that would never have known about us.
Yeah,
not been for
exactly. Yeah,
so
totally.
Our local community is a big part of what we do, and we look for all sorts of ways to be able to support and value our local community, and not just here in Austin, but also in all the communities that we are. Right now we're only in Texas, but we try to support our local community everywhere from Austin to Sulphur Springs to Amarillo to Houston to Dallas, everywhere.
Now, you mentioned COVID, the challenges of, keeping you guys afloat and keeping the business and organization running as smooth as it did. I know it was unusual, as it was for many of us, but were there any points of the year of 2020 where you're like, we got to scale back, we got to let people go, we got to figure out a different way of keeping ourselves afloat? What were the challenges for Still Austin last year, particularly during COVID?
Yeah, so when COVID first hit, many of the smaller distilleries were hit the hardest. Especially those that are in more rural communities that maybe depend more on their tasting room as the main source of their business. Just people weren't getting out. Financially, it was really, really challenging. A lot of whiskey makers kind of just some of them went into hibernation over the year. Just because
the product that they had on the shelf, they sold through it, and they weren't interested in making more because they just didn't feel like they would make a profit. Because from what I was always hearing, the one industry and out here that was pretty much surefire was weed, marijuana, and all you got to escape, and all of the the liquor.
Alcohol. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it would stand to reason that a whiskey, a distillery would be
Would do
included
well.
within that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely through the pandemic, people have been drinking. They drink a
Yeah.
lot for all the same reasons that they might do weed. And so, and everybody needs a little bit of a break. And so that's true. But they don't necessarily try new brands during a time when they're in crisis. They tend to go for things that maybe they're more familiar with. So more,
Yeah.
it's been a tremendous boom for more established national brands. But we have basically 4 ways that we introduce our product. You can come to the distillery, which was closed by the governor for most of the year. Now is reopened, but most of the year last year was closed. We do things with bars and restaurants, which were also closed most of the year last year. We do events, which weren't happening last year. And then we do some tastings at liquor stores, which were also illegal for a while.
Sure.
And so our 4 main ways of telling our story were a little hard to execute. And so it was a scary time. You're asking about like what do we do? And at the same time, we saw a huge need to be able to support our community at a time when they were as a community, we're all in a huge crisis and just like basic human rights, human needs around getting access to hand sanitizer, which was just super short supply. And
so you were trying to push the name, it seems, as opposed to the actual product. You were just trying to push the name, or like
really, like we weren't even necessarily trying to push the name. We were just trying to help out.
Okay.
A lot of times, like there's always an opportunity for you to do the right thing. Sometimes that helps your brand, sometimes not. It doesn't always present that opportunity, but you can always do the right thing. And we knew there was going to be a major need, and we actually decided early on that we were not going to do any layoffs. We did. I and all of our managers all took a pay cut for a little while, just to kind of help us with paying the bills. And we buckled down to keep focused. And some people, their jobs changed.
Sure.
They might have been working in our tasting room, serving drinks. Now they're on the line bottling. So some people's jobs changed, but no one was laid off during COVID. And
that speaks to you, Chris. I mentioned during the introduction, the tender genesis is still present. And that speaks to who you are. Having a heart. No, it does. Having a heart to, take less money just so that the people around you, the people that work for you, can stay afloat. Things like that, they grow, they foster, it's built in. And you will see the payoff, if not already, but pretty soon down the road. Because people like that, it makes people want to stay around.
It does.
Yeah.
The pride that I feel in our team took they took a pay cut in the middle of the year. Fortunately, by the end of the year, we had gotten everything back on track, and we were able to take care of all of our folks, make sure that they were able to give back some of the money that they hadn't been able to earn early in the year.
Sure.
And can I just say the level of pride and just as we came to the end of the year, we ended up giving everybody a little bit of a bonus just to be able to make sure everybody was taken care of by the end of the year, made everybody square. And everyone appreciated it more than I can even. I was shocked at like the level of love and
so you already have a fan. One of our audience members says she's planning on going to Austin, and she's going to make sure she stops by Still Austin.
Let us know for sure.
She's amazing. I just started following her, and I'm into crystals and chakras and things like that. And I subscribe to her page, and I often see what she's doing. And I I buy and listen to her dialogue about a lot of stones that are healing and, for meditation and things like that. So she's a very good person to know. So let me know how that works out when you guys finally meet.
And let me know when you're coming.
Yeah,
it's always easy to find me.
You can follow them. It's still Austin Whiskey, sweetie. So, you have 3 children. Do you think they're going to follow behind you into this industry, or is it just going to be? Are they
I don't know. That's a good question. My kids. My oldest is she's wanting to go. She's going to UT. She's got
I
accepted.
saw that.
So yeah, cheers to Tressa. And even though she's too young to drink,
she's a beautiful girl. You did a really good job. She's such a beautiful girl, and it's a beautiful name too, Tressa.
Yeah, no, she's sweet. My kids are they all have their own dreams and adventures and things that they need to work out about who they are. And I would never have thought that I would. I'm an economist. I couldn't be in a more I used to tell people I'm an economist, and they'd be like, "Oh, okay." And now I say, I'm in the whiskey business, and they're like, "You're in the whiskey business?" They're kind of drawn in by it. But I would never have. It was one of the most boring things to ever do. And who would have known that? Just out of my, wanting to have a better relationship with my dad, I would end up in this. And so I think that they will also find their own way, their own path. Sure. And I'm very excited to be part of it. And
but if she needs a summer job, there's a job together.
Price. You got to apply just like everybody else. But yeah.
Now let me and this is just from my own, this question here. What is behind that old wives' tale of adding whiskey to just about every toddy to, make it? My grandmother used to do, every time I would get a cold, anybody in the family would get sick, she'd make this toddy, and it would always include some kind of a whiskey in it. Where did that even come from? Or is it just something somebody made? Do you know?
So here's what I do know. Whatever your problem is. So maybe you're looking for your next gig, or whiskey can help. Maybe you're not feeling too good today. It just kind of seems to find its way into a lot of.
Does it just dull the anxiety for the moment, or is it actually healing? What is it doing?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this: whenever somebody is going through something and they post it on Facebook, I always say, hey, I hear you, and I think about you, and if you need whiskey, I can help. And a lot of people have taken me up on it, to be honest. And I think it's helped them. It's not, it can't solve everything, but,
I just remember every time she would make something for me, I would end up sweating whatever it is I was going through. I'd wake up in a pool of sweat, and by God, I would end up feeling better. So I thought there was something to it. So maybe that was it. I don't know what it was. You got another fan, my girl Donna. She's actually down there in Houston. She's a Kentucky girl, so she knows all about whiskey.
All right, awesome.
So she said she's going to give Still Austin Whiskey a try. That's what this whole show is about: moving people to Still Austin Whiskey.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support very, very much.
Of course, and I appreciate you for jumping on the soapbox, Chris. Thank you so much for saying yes. I really appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. And it's so fun doing it together, too. It's I have watched your career and all of your adventures over the last couple of years. And it's neat to be able to, compare adventures at this place in life. And I know that we got a lot of new adventures ahead of us.
Ebbing and flowing, my friend. Ebbing and flowing.
True enough.
Thank you so much. And folks, stay tuned because we're going to do the question. I have it all queued up. Okay. And Chris, thank you so much for jumping on. I really appreciate it. Oh, yeah, for
sure. It's great seeing you, Jermaine.
Follow Still Austin Whiskey on Instagram. You can follow Weekly. Is it Weekly Whiskey Texas? What is your Instagram handle?
Weekly Whiskey ATX is me.
ATX, exactly.
For Austin, Texas.
And you can see what's going on in the world of Still Austin Whiskey, and whenever they're open and widespread again, all the tastings and all the introductions, if you happen to be there in the Austin area. And folks, you are sure to become a fan just like I am. Thank you so much, Chris Sills. I really appreciate it.
Can you hear
me? All right, then. I will talk to you soon. Have a good day. Bye. All right, folks. So as promised, we are going to do the giveaway. Now, if you were paying attention, you will know the answer to this particular question. So the first one in the comments who can answer this question first will win a bottle of Still Austin whiskey. And you're going to get the straight bourbon whiskey. They're pretty much this, I guess it's their flagship bottle right here. So the question is, and the first one who answers will be winning a bottle of this whiskey. So the question is, are you ready? How many children does Chris have? All right. I will be looking for the first person to answer within the comments, and whoever answers first, I will get in touch with them and they will get their own bottle. Folks, thank you so much for watching the show today. I really appreciate this. This was a great experience for me. I love talking to friends, especially friends that are just doing big things such as Chris. Thank you so much, folks, and I will chat with you soon next week on Soapbox Sunday. Bye-bye.